Oh, it's the most wonderful time of the year because it's Halloween and we're celebrating Halloween all fucking month long. But I missed something last week. There was a passing to note. David McCallum, actor known mainly for Ilya Kuryakin and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and a bunch of other movies, had passed away. I believe he was 92 or something like that. That was sort of like last week. And I got a bitch about something. There is a convention, I don't know, I think it's going to be in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania or something like that. It's sort of like, it says the Famous Monsters Convention or some shit like that. That name, unfortunately, since Forey Ackerman lost control of Famous Monsters of Filmland, has been whored all over the fucking planet. I remember there was somebody else, I think a guy named Ray Ferry, who did something with Forey, screwed him out of his money. So now some convention down in Valley Forge has adopted the name, and it looks like the main guests are the Osbornes. And the price to get the Osbornes with, I think, a photo op or a fucking signature or something like that is $666. $666. Yeah, fuck you. You know, this is fucking bullshit. This is the way these people treat their fans at the end of the day. Because either they fucked up or did something. I mean, come on, Ozzie. You're a rock star. Don't tell me you didn't save any fucking money. Then again, maybe you didn't. Then you had a TV series, The Osbournes. Don't tell me you didn't save any money for that. Yeah, you had medical bills and shit like that. But I saw the whole roster, and I'm not going to go over the whole fucking thing. But one thing that did stick out is if you bring a guitar, Ozzie will sign it for $700. I mean, this is fucking ludicrous in a fucking, economy where things are really fucking bad. Yet these stars seem to think nothing of fucking gouging their fucking fans to show how much they love them. And of course, they're enabled by these fucking mark promoters who just have to have these people there. Again, fuck the Osbournes. And I hate to say this again, but convention, I'm not going to mention, it all ran, last week. And there was one guy connected with that convention who had been there since day one, and unfortunately, he passed away after a bunch of fucking things happened to him. But yet, there was no acknowledgement of him ever being there. There was no, something in the program, we remember this and that. There was nothing done. And that sort of pisses me off too, because when somebody volunteers their time and efforts for so long, over so many years, I would think that they would deserve some kind of recognition, but I guess I'm fucking wrong. I guess all these shows seem to do is enable promoters to make money and become fucking jerk-offs. So that's my opinion, that's all it is. But going back to the Halloween shit and staying with black and white, how about Attack of the Crab Monsters and Not of This Earth, which was an actual double bill from Allied Artists, and they were two Corman films. And one is more cerebral than the other, but then how can you not like a film called Attack of the Crab Monsters? It seems that atomic tests have mutated crabs into these two giant fucking crabs who are hanging out by a research island, and the first party of scientists that went out there to investigate the effects of the atomic radiation completely vanished. A new party goes out there, and of course the thing starts off with one of the sailors falling off the boat bringing supplies to shore and being pulled up back on the boat minus his head. Great way to start a movie. Really, it is. And, of course, the whole deal is there's two radioactive crabs. They're giant. They consume the last research party and can communicate by telepathically getting their voice through a metal object. Of course, when they eat somebody, they absorb all their intelligence and shit, and these crabs are out to destroy the world. And they can also steal dynamite somehow and send off heat waves that are basically blowing the island up and reducing the place where people can fucking hide. And it stars, Pamela Duncan, Richard Garland, Russell Johnson, Mel Wells, Beach Dickerson, host of other ones. Of course, the cast is basically knocked off one by one. Mel Wells, as Professor Jules Devereaux, gets his hand ripped off in one scene. And of course, the crafty crustaceans are closing in. They've basically reduced the island to a fucking little mound of bricks out in the ocean. And one crab is killed, but the other crab is pregnant. And Russell Johnson sacrifices his life by knocking down an electrical fucking thing and zaps the crab into ashes. So Seems that electricity is the big fucking no-no with the crabs here. But when I was a kid, when they advertised this on $1 Million Movie, I had to see the damn thing, and I watched it every night. Now, its co-feature, Not of This Earth, stars Beverly Garland, Jonathan Hayes, and Morgan Jones, and Paul Birch. Paul Birch is this alien sent to Earth because on his planet Darvana, they are fucking fighting, and there's all kinds of nuclear shit that's basically giving them all a blood disease. So he comes to Earth in search of human blood and has to find a doctor who he basically mentally enslaves to help him. And he hires Beverly Garland, the doctor's nurse, to treat him at home with blood transfusions while he basically seeks people to knock off and drain their blood. Dick Miller appears as a vacuum cleaner salesman who is taken into the basement, and when the Paul Birch character, Mr. Johnson, takes off his sunglasses, he zaps the guy's brains and then drains their blood and then shoves them into the furnace in the basement of the building. He also orders his chauffeur, Jonathan Hayes, Jeremy, who is an ex-con, to pick up a bunch of hobos and bring them over for dinner, and then he zaps them too. He also was ordered to send back a human specimen, so he finds this Chinese guy roaming around at night and sends him back. One of his, I guess, citizens of that planet also shows up, this woman who says she escaped the whole thing. Everybody's dying up there and she needs blood. So mistakenly, Mr. Johnson gives her a transfusion of rabid dog blood, and she's taken to the hospital where she dies, and they find out that she has, no eyes either, sort of same as, Mr. Johnson. So it all starts to break down because Beverly Garland and Jonathan Hayes decide to search the place and see what they can find. Hayes comes across the skulls of the victims in the furnace and is zapped by Birch. Nadine, the Beverly Garland character, tries to get away, and she's being pursued by Mr. Johnson, who basically dies in a car crash and is burned. There's some really cool scientific shit going on there, especially with the curing of cancer when Mr. Johnson comes up with this whole thing as he goes to the library to find out about us. I also remember reading something about that Paul Birch and Roger Corman had a fist fight on the lawn, and Birch stormed off the set. I think that was the last time he worked with Corman. He was in a bunch of Corman stuff. Data World Ended, I think Five Guns West, things like that. He just seemed to be one of those stoogey guys, and from what I understand, he was a drinker, and maybe had a anger issue problem, whatever. But still, Not of This Earth is the better of the two films and has been remade twice. Once in, I believe, in the '80s, starring Tracy Lords, and I think again in the '90s, where Crab Monsters never got a remake because why bother? It's too cool the way it is. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. There are things in the works, like I keep hinting around, but until they're solidified, I will let you know. But I can only give you this. Pretty soon you'll have a place to go to buy my stuff without having to deal with this fucking nonsense. So until then, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.